Today, I am joined by Chris Pratt and Charlie Day, who play Mario and Luigi in the new Super Mario Brothers movie. Right off the bat, let's get a quick one out of the way. Do you guys have a favorite Nintendo game of all time?
Ooh, God, that's good.
Wow. I mean, if you put in a little up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start, and you start playing Contra, you are going to have a good time.
Golly. I mean, Spy Hunter was good.
Yeah.
Mock Rider was good. I think my favorite was probably The Legend of Zelda, the original Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, same, man. I loved Zelda.
I spent a lot of time on Zelda.
And then Super Mario Brothers.
Well, Super Mario Brothers, yeah. I mean, that's the given. You got to say that.
If I go to a place and they have an old school like a Nintendo and they have Super Mario Brothers,
yeah, I'm playing.
I'm playing.
And I'll get to like level 5-2 before I even get died.
Same. I'm a little rusty.
So both of you stepping into these roles that, they're just such iconic characters. I would say that Mario and Luigi are probably about as recognizable as Mickey Mouse these days. So how do you kind of step into that role without having like the weight of expectation and the weight of like just all of the history of these characters? How do you go about like approaching these characters?
Well, first of all, a little trust in the filmmaking team that you're with, that, Illumination makes such great movies. Trust in Nintendo that, their involvement in this is that they're going to create a product that they're going to be happy with and feels respectful of the franchise they've developed.
Right.
And then some blissful ignorance in terms of like just
tons of that.
The massive fan base. And then you're done recording and you realize, oh my gosh, this thing's going to be giant. And that little mixture of three things I think worked out nicely.
Yeah, and it's nice to be part of the collaborative team that is responsible for being mindful and careful about these characters that people do care so much about.
Yeah.
You want to get it right. You're glad for me, I wouldn't want them to screw it up, and the best way for me to make sure they don't screw it up is to jump in and be part of it.
And then just commitment, right? Like I think both of us, anytime we take a job, it matters as much to me that I feel good about what I do, that someone else out there feels good about what they do. So if I am holding my performance up to my own standard, then hopefully it's up to someone else's as well.
Absolutely. And, both of these characters have had kind of a singular voice over the past basically 3 decades. So how do you go about kind of creating a voice for these characters that makes it your own?
Well, it all just comes down to story. This is really a story. This is a storytelling medium. Video games, they tell a story in a way, and you're allowed to be these characters, and they are the avatars to allow you to go on these quests, and that's what it's been for 30 years. But here, we're really crafting a story. And so the script and the story is going to tell us a lot of who these characters need to be. What makes Mario Mario? What makes Luigi Luigi? How are they separate? How are they... what's their relationship like?
Yeah,
what is their relationship with their parents? What's their relationship with their family?
Right.
What are the circumstances of their life that are calling them on this quest? And once you know all those things, it kind of makes it easy.
Yeah, you approach it from emotion, which is slightly different from, hey, what's the funniest way to, say it to me? Instead, you're saying, wait, why am I saying this to my brother? What do I care about? What am I feeling in this moment? And then you start from that place and then you build out.
And it sounds crazy, but it's like you take away all the fantasy, the jokes, the animation, the music. What you need to have is a good drama. You need to have a good emotional through line and an arc for the characters. And then you add all the other stuff on it. The sentiment, the nostalgia, all the music, the great characters, the Easter eggs.
And then you pop in a catchphrase and you got yourself a
hit movie.
Chris, Charlie, thank you so much for your time and best of luck launching this movie.
Hey, thanks a lot. We'll see you later.
Take care. I am now joined by Seth Rogen, who plays Donkey Kong in the brand new Super Mario Brothers movie. Seth, we want to talk about your role here a little bit, but first, do you have a favorite Nintendo game of all time?
It's probably the Mario 64 game was probably the one that and Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart, probably Super Mario Kart, yeah.
So you must have loved having such an emphasis on Mario Kart in this movie.
I really was psyched about that, yes.
So what initially attracted you to this role?
Honestly, it was like the cast overall was exciting. The idea that they were actually like putting a lot of talent and resources towards making a big, cool Super Mario Brothers movie was exciting to me. I grew up with Mario Brothers. I was hugely into video games when I was young. And I keep saying, seeing that as an 11-year-old, seeing that first Mario Brothers movie was truly a disappointing experience to me. And so anything I can do to provide modern children with a good Mario Brothers movie, I will do.
I remember seeing that movie in theaters, and it was actually the first movie I remember leaving and like being like, I don't think I liked that.
Yeah,
so I'm right there with you.
The same. I think it was the movie that showed me movies could be bad, and which didn't even occur to me before that.
Exactly. So DK has such a larger than life presence in this film, but were there particular parts of his personality that you really wanted to play to when you came into this role?
Honestly, mostly that he's kind of like is like a villain to Mario, like in the games. Like they have a very adversarial relationship, and so to me that was a funny place to start. And this idea that he hates Mario and doesn't want to be with Mario, and he kind of feels like he's been kind of stuck with Mario throughout the course of the movie, to me was, a potentially funny dynamic. It's a big swing to decide that your joke is you hate the star of the movie, but I thought maybe I hoped I could make it work.
Unlike Mario and Luigi, who've had this kind of defined singular voice over the course of, about 3 decades now, Donkey Kong's voice has kind of changed, and it's kind of been like just this like not defined thing over the course of his existence. So how did you go about finding the voice that you wanted to use for Donkey Kong?
I only do one voice, and it's my voice, so it was not a hard process. It was,
Be yourself. It's always good advice, right? So did you ever get to hear the entire DK rap?
Oh yeah, of course.
So,
I'm the one who pushed to have the DK rap in the movie.
Really?
Oh yeah, big time.
So in addition to being a Mario 64 fan, I'm guessing you were a Donkey Kong 64 fan, or did you just know about the DK rap because of just being around it?
As a rap fan and video game fan, I of course knew about the DK rap, but I'll be honest, it's lyrically not fantastic. But
it's not, no, but you can't help but watch it. It's like a car crash, right?
It was a different era in hip hop, yeah.
Did you have a favorite moment in the script outside of the DK rap?
The whole Rainbow Road sequence I thought was very cool. That's something as a kid I was always one of my favorite parts of any of the games, and and the introduction, Donkey Kong, that whole introduction fight is very cool, I think, and I really, again, it's like a great manifestation of, I think, what fans hope this movie will have,
Of course. And, stepping into the role of such an iconic character and something like, you being a Nintendo fan growing up, like, what is that like? Just kind of being like, I'm stepping into this character that's like one of the godfathers of video games.
It's cool. There's like a novelty to it that's very fun. And I think it is one of those things that like young, 12-year-old me would think it was pretty cool, Yeah. Of all the things 12-year-old me would be really disappointed by, this is not one of them.
You told me about your favorite Nintendo game of all time. What was kind of your first experience with Nintendo, and like kind of what made you fall in love with like the games that this company produces?
I had like a Commodore, which had, before the Nintendo Entertainment System, they made Donkey Kong and things like that were on a Commodore. And it's funny because even looking back, like they were the first games that really had like characters that stood out, There was lots of driving games where you'd move a car along the road, or little spaceship games where you'd fly a spaceship around and shoot people. But Donkey Kong was the only one that had like Mario and Luigi and Donkey Kong and the princess. Like it felt a little bit more cinematic and kind of a bit more. It clearly like worked because like people really grasped onto it even in that very early form.
Absolutely, and I'm assuming you have seen the finished product by now. Is this the movie that you think 11-year-old you would have left the theater thinking that was the movie I wanted?
Oh, he would have been so much happier. He wouldn't. Yeah, he would have. It would have really changed the whole. It's like a sliding doors scenario. It would have changed my whole life. Maybe would have been different. I would have been a happier, less productive person. Maybe were that movie good. My whole career's maybe trying to make up for that.
Did you get to interact at all with like the likes of like Shigeru Miyamoto in terms of like any kind of like feedback or anything?
No, zero.
Okay, I didn't know how involved he was with the process.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that, like, as somebody who grew up playing Nintendo games, that was kind of cool to hear he was so involved.
It was, yeah. I did a little intro video, and he like introduced me, and it was crazy. And like, honestly, it's like getting to work with like a filmmaker that you've looked up to your whole life. Like, it's someone who's like created iconic things that have really been a part of the culture that created who I am. So it's it's cool.
And I guess, where would you like to see the character's involvement with the franchise going forward if this does in fact become a franchise?
Well, I think, since, Donkey Kong is where Mario spawned off of, so now that Mario has gained prominence, it only seems right to return to Donkey Kong. What I'm saying is Mario should be a sidekick in the Donkey Kong movie, not the other way around.
So we're building up the Nintendo cinematic universe.
Exactly.
And I mean, I guess, what is your primary sales pitch to people who kind of still have that, frankly, at this point, outdated notion that like video game movies suck? Like, as somebody who now in 2023 is in a main character in one of the biggest video game movies ever released, what is your pitch to those people?
I'd say show your children The Last of Us, and then ask me if they think video game movies suck.
All right, Seth, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck with the movie.
Thank you.